So Gian Clark, right? Here the inspiring, journey of a champion without limits, right? So here Gian Clark, Clark's story is one of the extraordinary, resilience, unmatched, determination, and the power of, obviously, the human spirit. Born with a caudal regression, right? Obviously syndrome and rare disorder that left him without legs. Zion, has defined the odds to become a successful, wrestler, MMA fighter, and motivational speaker, from a painful, childhood in foster, care to obviously global stage. He continues to inspire millions, with his mantra of no excuses. Right, so here are difficult, early life marked by pain and uncertainty. Zion Clark, was given up for, adoption at birth. Here, born into a world of uncertainty, he entered, the American foster care system where he actually faced years of neglect, abuse, and relentless bullying. The emotional and psychological scars, from his early experiences, could have defined his future. But Zion refused, to let them. Obviously, here growing up without a stable family, and constantly being moved from one home to another, his childhood was marked by instability, fear, and obviously sense of abandonment, that would challenge even the strongest spirit, right? So your turning point, the gift of a stable home is here that everything began to change, when Jian was adopted by obviously compassionate and determined women who believed in his potential. His his adoptive mother, gave him what he had never known before: love, stability, and unwavering, support. This new environment, right, became the foundation upon which Jian, began to build not just his confidence but also a vision for his future. She encouraged, right, him to pursue sports, education, and all over above, right? So you have to believe in himself. Zion credits her as a driving force that helped him unlock his true strength and purpose, right? So you're overcoming adversity through sports. So here despite the limitation imposed by his condition, Zion found his identity through his sports, specifically wrestling. While others doubted him capabilities, right, doubted his capabilities, he refused to see his physical difference as a weakness. He trained harder than most, often using sheer willpower and relentless effort to bridge with physical gap between himself and his competitors. Zion eventually obviously earned a sports on as a sport on his high school wrestling. So here team and obviously continued to excel in the sports, later competing at the obviously collegiate level with the University of Ohio's, right, wrestling team. So his discipline and performance challenged conventional definition of obviously athleticism, and perseverance, right? So making history, the Guinness World Record that we called, Jian's determination to push boundaries didn't stop at the wrestling mat. In 2021 he broke Guinness World Record, by comparing the fastest 20-meter hand walk in just 4.76 second. So this remarkable feat was not only a demonstration of physical strength but a symbol of mental tenacity. Right, it served as a global reminder, that limitations exist only in the mind, right, and that goals no longer, that goals, no matter how ambitious, are within reach with enough resolve, right. So rising in, mixed martial arts that we called MMA, mixed martial art. So in act another bold move that Zion stepped into in the worlds of mixed martial art that we call MMA, a sports known for its intensity, toughness, and obviously complexities, right. So here many questioned whether a man without a leg could truly complete. Zion answered that question in the ring, that he made him MMA debut and won his first fight by unanimous decisions. proving at again that strength is not limited by the body, but empowered by the mind and heart. His victory not only shut down critics, but also here expanded the conversation about inclusivity in the combat sports, right? So becoming a global motivational voice here. Beyond his physical achievements, Zian has become a sought after motivational speaker, traveling across the countries to share his story. Whether he is speaking at schools, conferences and corporate events, his message remains clear: no excuses, right? So here he teaches audience that excuses are barriers we create, and that discipline, mindset and perseverance can overcome almost anything, right? His speeches are deeply personal, filled with moments of pain, transformation and triumph, inspiring people from all walk of life to push past their limitation, right? So here a life built on the no excuse philosophy, right? Here Zion lives by a simple but powerful philosophy that no excuses. This mindset has totally guided every step of his journey, from the pain of his early years to the triumph of his athletic and personal achievements. It is a belief system that not only helped him overcome his own challenges, but has now become a beacon of hope of countless others facing adversity. So Zion reminds us that success is not defined by circumstances, but by how we choose to respond to them. So the conclusion of the point is what here, that redefining possibilities. Zion Clark is not just an athlete or a motivational figure. He is a living example of what can happen when determination meets opportunity. His story is not only of sympathy but of strength. From foster care to world records, from high school wrestling, to MMA victories, Zion continues to prove that impossible is just a word, right? Through his actions, he is redefining, what's possibility for people, of all abilities, inspiring a generation to rise beyond limitation, right? So here, my message to the world is what, that, from Zion Clark here, no excuses. If I can live, fight, right, and win without legs, then what's your excuse? If I can live, fight and win without legs, then what's your excuses, right? Life will never be be easy, but the moment you stop making excuses is the moment you start growing, right? You are stronger than your circumstances. Don't blame, don't complain, just work, right? So your second point is what, your past does not define you, what you are. I was born with a condition I never choose. I grew up in abuse, foster care and rejection. But I am not my past. I am who I choose to become, right? No matter where you started, you have the power to rewrite your future. So start now. Third point is what? Turn pain into power. Life will test you. People will doubt you. Pain will visit you, but use it. Let every scar reminds you that you are still here. Still fighting. Pain isn't your enemy. It's your fuel, right? So here the next point number 4 is what? Surround yourself, with love and belief. When I actually adopted, finally found someone who believed in me. That belief, because my strength here, find people who lift you up, not pull you down. If you can't find them, become that person for someone else, right? So here the next point, the point number 5 is what? Disability is not inability. Just because something looks different does not mean that it's less. I don't have legs, but I have power. I have speed, I have discipline. Don't let the world decide your limits. Define them yourself. Point number 6 is what? Your body is just one part of who you are. Real strength is in the mind. It's in your heart. You will, your spirit, right? Train those every day. Champions are not built in perfect bodies. They are built in unbreakable minds. Point number 7 is what? You can, inspire others by being yourself. I didn't, set out to be a role model. I just refused to quit. and that itself inspired others. You don't have to be famous, just be real, be relentless. Someone out there needs your story. Point number 8 is what? Keep fighting, keep rising, right? So here, you will fail, undoubtedly. You will feel broken, but if you can leave your head, even once, even slowly, you are not done. Every breath is second chance, so don't waste it. Point number 9 is what? Make your life your message. Right? People will, remember how you made them feel, what you stood for, and how hard you fought. Right? Let your life be a message, of courage, of hope, and obviously of unstoppable spirit. Right? So here the next point is what? Point number 10 is what? No matter what, never stop. Right? From foster homes to wrestling mat, right? From the darkest nights to the MMA catch, right? I kept moving, forward. You can too. I want to say, I kept moving forward. You can do the same. Walk, run, crawl, climb, handwalk, right? If you have to, but never stop. So what is here? Caudal regression syndrome. Yeah, caudal regression syndromes is what? CRS is a rare, congenital, congenital. I mean to say congenital that we call, might be possible the pronunciation is congenital or congenital disorder that affects the, development of the lower spine and the spinal cord, right? Okay, so the word, caudal, it refers to the tail end of the spine, and regression, refers to incomplete or failed development, right? In simple terms, it means that a child born with CRS has undeveloped or completely missing lower, vertebrae, right? Which can affect mobility, organ functions, and the, musculoskeletal structure of the lower body. So in Zion Clark's case, Clark's case here, that he was born without legs. Due to this condition, his spine ends mid-torso, and he lacks the lower body, completely. It's a condition that can not only present major physical challenges, but often comes with, associated health issues, mobility limitation, and emotional hardship. Right. So CRS, is extremely rare, occurring in approximately in 160,000, live births. Right. So here, children born, with his condition, may face a lifetime of surgeries, medical treatment, and reliance, right, on mobility devices. The condition has no known cure, and cause is not fully understood. Though some cases are linked to, maternal diabetes or genetic factors. So Zion Clark's story, turning pain into power, that here, being born with, caudal regression syndromes could have been the end of the story for many, right? But, for Zion Clark, it was just the beginning. He entered life abandoned, without a family, without a legs, facing not just physical limitation, but emotional and social, obstacles that most people, can't imagine. He grew up in obviously in foster care, moved from one stable home to another, endured abuse, neglect, and relentless bullying. He had every reason to give up. Every excuse to stay broken, but he didn't. Instead, Zion Clark made a decision, a decision that would define the rest of his life. I will not let my condition define me. I will define myself. He started, wrestling. He started training, but he built strength not just in his arms, but in his heart. Through years of tireless dedication, he became a champion athlete, not just in spirit, but in action. From high school wrestling championship to a Guinness World Record for hard working, 20 minutes faster than anyone in history. From fighting in the, mixed martial arts that we call MMA catch, to standing on global stages as a motivational speaker, Zion shattered every barrier, put before him. So the message behind the story is that, a motivation to the world. If I actually try to address to the whole world, that the message behind the story is a motivation to the world is what? That Zion Clark's journey, lets us, something deeply powerful, right? Your body may have limits, but your spirit doesn't. You might have been, born with disadvantage, right? Physical, emotional, social, and financial. You might be dealing with pain no one else can see. You might feel like the world, has already decided your worth. But Zen Life shows us this truth. You are not broken. You are being built. Right? Every hardship you face is an opportunity, to rise. Every scar is proof that you survived. Every fall is a chance, to stand obviously taller. So Zion didn't let a rare, lifelong condition stop him from chasing greatness, and neither should you. He reminds us that, excuses are the enemy of greatness, that strength comes from struggle, and that real champions, are not born. They are forged in pain, discipline, and unshakable belief. So what's your excuse? The question is, Zion Clark lives with a body, many would see as a limitation, right? So he moves the world, with his willpower. He doesn't walk with leg. He runs with purpose. He doesn't complain. He conquer. So ask yourself, are you letting small, setbacks hold you back? Are you allowing fear? Are you allowing fear and insecurity to silence your dreams? Are you waiting for the perfect condition to start? Start now. Start with what you have. Start with what you have. Don't wait for the perception. Start now. Start with what you have. Don't wait for the perfection. Right? Move with what you can. Move with what you can, and never ever stop. Right? So this is what about, the whole story of Zion Clark, the inspiring journey of a champion without limits. So yeah.